is there such a thing as a dual carbine, LPVO versus an RDS? So scope versus a red dot sight. Here's my take on this. There is a dual carbine, but it's not an LPVO and it's not an RDS, it's both. So what I've found personally, and I've tried all different forms of scopes, there are good scopes and there are good red dot sights, but there's not an LPVO that does both well. So what I personally run, and a lot of guys, I think, you look at 3-gun guys as a great example, they'll have a dedicated scope set up and some type of offset RDS. So you have the best of both worlds. So you can flip the rifle or go to the 12 o'clock and you have a perfect, crisp, dedicated red dot sight. And then you have a scope that's a proper scope. I personally like the 2-10 Leopold. It's a fantastic all-around scope. The cool thing about having the gun set up that way is that you can run the scope on a little bit higher magnification. So then you have it set to that little bit, that medium distance shot, maybe 5-6 power, something like that, to where you're not adjusting, the throw lever to get to the right magnification. It's just pop down, perfect, crystal clear sight picture on a scope with a milliradian reticle, so you know your drops and your holds and everything. And then if something pops up close, there's no adjustments there either. You're just rolling right over to your 45 degree. 45 or top mount for offset dot. Ooh, this is a great one. And preferred dot zero distance if the LPVO is zeroed at 100 yards. So for passive night vision stuff, I like to have my red dot on top of the scope at 12 o'clock. It's just a little bit easier to present and find a sight picture for that if you're looking through night vision. But if I'm not concerned with night vision, I will run it at a 45. I found that lower profile and just rolling the rifle over is faster, and it allows me to keep a very familiar cheek to stock weld. So, and I have a really positive way that I keep connection to the buttstock with my shoulder, even when I'm in 45 degrees. So for passive night vision stuff, I prefer 12 o'clock. For just normal shooting, imagine that I'm not going into night vision, I would want it at 45. The good question here that I really like, the preferred dot zero distance. I personally zero all of my rifles at 100 meters, and then I match my red dot zero to that same distance, so that if, no matter what, I'm thinking about the same kind of holds, and I'm not trying to concern myself with 2 different zeros. So your mechanical offset is going to be about the same depending on how you have those mounted, even if you end up shooting the scope at close distance. So that's what I do personally with mine. And then a trick that I've found is if you buy 2 mounts that are the same angle, like, some of them aren't exactly 45 degrees. If you put that on the bottom of your buttstock, you can mount a bipod off of that so that you actually zero your rifle to the proper cant. I found that's a pretty good way to control it. And so my bipod's basically hanging off the other side of the rifle at 45 degrees, roll it over to 45 on the bipod and zero it at 100. That way, if you do have that same instance that we talked about, you need to go to that as a backup. The zero distance is good, and you haven't zeroed at some wonky distance like 25 yards.